This episode of Walt Disney World Today is sponsored by MEI and Mousefan Travel. MEI and Mousefan Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner, specializing in cruises and packages to Disney and other vacation destinations around the world. They provide signature service with no agency fees. Get a no-obligation quote at www.mousefantravel.com.
It's Wednesday, March 19th, 2008, and this is episode 385 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hochberg from StudioCentral.com. On the show today, we have Mike Scopa of All Ears Net. Welcome, Mike.
And a warm welcome back to those of you who made it.
Oh, Tower of Terror, but of course.
But of
Please.
course.
And also on today's show, we have Van of the NetCod podcast. Van, glad to have you on board, and as well as all the Vanaholics out there.
Thanks, guys. You guys have one of the only podcasts, not just Disney podcasts, but podcasts that I religiously listen to. So I'm totally excited to be here.
Thank you. I enjoy the NetCod podcast. I know Mr. Newell listens to it as well. So we are a fan of your work, and certainly with you, myself, and Scopa here tonight. It's also the Wrestling Disney-holics Anonymous, you know.
Excellent.
And it's Wednesday, and we're answering your listener questions. And the first question of the day comes from Michael Rua of Harding, Fall River, Massachusetts. Maybe his last name was Rue Harding, and he's from Fall River, Massachusetts. At any rate. Hi, Matt, Mike, and Len. I just started listening to your podcast, and I love it. I want to give you guys a thumbs up on being the best Disney podcast out there. As my grandmother lives in Orlando and works as a cast member at Cosmic Rays in the Magic Kingdom, I guess I put the wrong inflection in the wrong part of the sentence there. But anyway, have you guys ever thought of becoming Disney cast members? What attraction would have you like to work at? Please say the date I sent this email, which I'm not going to say because it would just be bad to admit when that was. So have you guys ever thought about being cast members before?
Yes, we have. At least I have. Let's see. How much time do we have? I was influenced one vacation when there used to be a musical troupe that used to wander around near Canada and United Kingdom in the World Showcase area of Epcot. And I remember talking to one of the musicians there, and I remarked to him how happy he was, and he said, well, why shouldn't I be happy? I'm playing my music. I have people here on vacation. They're all in a good mood. They're smiling, and I'm getting paid for it. And I always kept that in mind as I, thought sometimes when I would be in a park as to what I would want to do if I was a cast member. And I guess if I could have my wish, and if I had the talent, I think I would like to be one of the Voices of Liberty because I happen to like the American Adventure, and I think that that's a very nice venue. You're always in air conditioning. A nice air conditioning rotunda. You always have people there really anxiously awaiting for you to sing, and you have a good time. So I think I'd want to be a Voice of Liberty.
Nice. Van?
Definitely Streetmosphere at MGM, or
Right.
Disney's Hollywood Studios.
There you go. Nice, solid choice right there. What would you be? Would you be like an aspiring star, a director, or a talent agent? None of the above?
Governor of New York?
I think I would be the aspiring star who keeps getting lines wrong. Like I'd pull out some like really classic, well-known line that everybody would know from a movie, that's kind of recent, and just screw up the last thing. That would be awesome.
Yeah, you'd be like, we need a bigger car. I mean, boat.
Exactly.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a fish. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've all thought about it, and certainly as fans, you can't help but not think about, what if I was a cast member? And I think for me, the Tower of Terror was always the one that I would love to have, like, just a day to work at the very least. I think that one's a lot of fun, especially when you come up with a character and you really get into it, and I think it really makes it for a lot of fun. Next email is from Mona Lay, that's my whole name, like Mary Beth, who's from Columbia, Maryland, writes, "Hi guys, long-time listener, first-time emailer. I'm planning to go to the World to run the Race for the Taste this October." That's 2008, hopefully enough time for you to get to this question, "with my 2 friends. We're happy, healthy women in our 30s, and we'll leave behind 3 husbands and 8 kids between us. Woohoo! I'm an experienced Walt Disney World nerd, and both of my friends have also been recently, but also with families, and I've never been there for any of the races. We're hoping that you can give us some general advice for this event. Where would be a good place to stay? We probably want 3 beds and fairly economical. When should we plan to arrive? We'll probably do a 3-day weekend, but how should we schedule it around the race?" Let's start there, Scotty, before we go into any other ones.
Okay. First off, I would recommend that they arrive no later than the Thursday night of that upcoming weekend for the race. Regarding as to where they should stay, well, I would recommend that they stay on the property, of course. Again, it depends upon their budget. The race begins at the World of Sports, and it finishes at Epcot. So my recommendation is to, if they do rent a car, to drive the car to Epcot and take the buses that are available to the runners and take the bus to the start, which would be at the World of Sports. And so when they finish the race, which will be in, I think it's the Wonder parking lot. When they finish the race, their car will be right there. But number one, Matt, I think they should arrive no later than Thursday night, because they would have to pick up their race pack on Friday, and you don't want to, unless you're going to arrive real early on Friday, you're going to be rushing around Friday afternoon and Friday evening to pick up your race pack. So arrive Thursday, depending upon your budget. I don't know where you could stay anywhere, but I would recommend staying on the property.
Yep.
And number 3, park at Epcot.
Okay. If they want economical, I'm thinking maybe the family suites at the All-Star Resorts, because they want economical, because that'll give them, I forget how many beds you get in the main room. Do you get one like master bed, or does it come with like the double beds, and then you get the sleeper sofa in the other room?
Yeah.
That might be an option. Otherwise, to get 3 beds in one room, you're looking at some kind of a larger unit that's going to be excessively expensive, I think. Maybe the Fort Wilderness cabin comes to mind, but other than that,
yeah, I thought about the day. Aren't there day beds at the Contemporary? And they used to be. I know that, but I don't know if they have them anymore.
Well, they used to have the quote unquote day beds at the moderate resorts like Port Orleans, but those things are like glorified benches to me. I don't know.
I think you could do. What about the bunk beds at the Animal Kingdom or the Wilderness Lodge? Don't they? You know, I mean, if they could fit in the bunk bed, why not? You'd have 2 in the bunk bed and 1 in the lodge bed. You know.
I would also keep an eye out for special rates at Swan and Dolphin too. There might be something where, depending on the budget, and then if they do stay there, instead of driving to Epcot, I would walk, because I got to believe at the end of a race like that, the thing you want to do is walk back to your room all that ways.
Absolutely. Nothing says fun after a race like walking a long distance. That's right. Next email is from Mark Mills of Matawan, New Jersey, who writes, "Greetings. I'd like to know your thoughts on Disney's Boardwalk Resort. I've never been, but I'm considering a visit this August. How does it compare to Downtown Disney? Is there much to do there?" So I guess he means the boardwalk, like the area, not the actual resort. This is interesting. I'll start. I mean, feel free to jump in on this one. How you would compare Boardwalk to Downtown Disney?
Well, there's obviously more available for you at Downtown Disney. What's nice about Boardwalk is that you can walk to either the studios or you can walk to Epcot. That is something that appeals to a lot of people because you don't need transportation. If you want to talk, when you talk about Downtown Disney, you also need to talk about Pleasure Island because it's right there.
Yep.
I think that when you talk about restaurants, it could be a wash, although maybe I'd lean a little bit towards the Boardwalk area because you do have Boardwalk, Beach Club, Yacht Club, Swan, Dolphin, and you also have easy access to the World Showcase. So maybe for the restaurant, I'd give the check to Boardwalk. Entertainment-wise, shopping though, I'd say Downtown Disney, Matt, for sure.
Yeah, I like to think of Boardwalk as kind of the It's the more laid back version. I think dining is better. Spoodles and Big River Grill and Brewing Works, even ESPN the Club, I think are better dining locations than what you would find at Downtown Disney. Would you agree, Van?
Yeah, I definitely would. The other thing I would add is that I think it's easier to get in and out of Boardwalk.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you also have entertainment at Boardwalk. Don't forget, you have Jelly Rolls and Atlantic City Dance Hall, and those offer. Jelly Rolls has the dueling pianos, and Atlantic City Dance Hall, as its name implies, is a dancing venue. So it offers a different option there. And I think if you're looking for more night out on the town, it's Downtown Disney. But if you're looking for, like, I always like going to Boardwalk for a nice, cap to, after a day in the parks, perhaps, get something to eat, enjoy the area over there. Sometimes they have, for lack of a better word, streetmosphere over there on the Boardwalk, like the magicians and the jugglers and things like that. I enjoy it quite a bit.
Street performers, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Next email is from Dave Park, who writes, my question is about All-Star Movie Resort. Last year we stayed at All-Star Music and the rooms were newly refurbished. Do you know if Disney is planning a refurb for movies? We're going at the end of September 2008 and are currently booked at movies. However, we're so impressed with the new rooms at Music that we may have to change and stay there again. Thanks again, Dave. It's a good question, Dave. I don't think so. I haven't heard anything. I know that the rooms were refurbed at Music and Sports, and they're really fantastic. Van, have you been able to check them out? I'm not sure if you have an opportunity.
I've checked all three, and I was just going to say, I think wasn't Movies the last one of those three to come out? So if you kind of use that theory, there might be something scheduled, but I haven't heard anything on the schedule. Yeah.
But the refurbished rooms are absolutely fantastic. I've stayed there a couple times, and I just love it. I think it's so worth going over there for those rooms and staying at. If you don't want to go back to movies again, you can go to sports, and that'll give you a little bit of a change there. Next email is from Simone from Melbourne, Australia, who writes, "Hello, love the podcast. I really need your advice. We're coming to Walt Disney World in late October 2008 and traveling all the way from Australia. I don't want to make a mistake with the hotel I choose. Please give me pros and cons between the Contemporary, possibly Concierge, Beach and Yacht Club, again, possibly Concierge, or the cheaper Swan and Dolphin hotels. I have no idea which to choose. Obviously, the Swan and Dolphin will be cheaper, but then I'm worried about missing out on things due to it not being Disney-owned. Please give me your advice. I have to book soon, and I'm so confused."
Contemporary.
Wow.
You go with Contemporary, Van?
I don't even have to think about it, especially if you're coming all that distance. You're going to pay more if you can. If you can swing the main tower, that's great. That would definitely be my pick.
Interesting. You've got some pretty large grapefruits there with that choice.
That's right, man.
The more I think about it, the more I think. At first, I was kind of taken back because we generally don't recommend the Contemporary very much. But given those options, I think I would go with Contemporary too. What do you think, Scopa?
It's really hard to say. Again, you have to look at the pros and cons. I've heard that for some people, they don't like the noise that is associated with the Contemporary. They do like the idea that it's on the monorail, number one. Number two, it's close to the Magic Kingdom. It also depends upon what park they intend to go to most of the time. If you talk about the Epcot resorts, obviously Swan and Dolphin are the least expensive, but if I had to choose, I think I would try the Beach Club because I think it's the closest to Epcot. I think it has very nice ambiance. It's a very nice atmosphere. I don't know. It's really tough. I think you have to look into it a little bit more deeply. I think you have to think about, again, which park you intend to visit more often than the others. You need to think about what kind of flexibility you want. I mean, if you're looking for something that's quiet and a little bit more elegant, I think that the Beach and Yacht Club would be, at the top of the list for elegant resorts, deluxe. And then I think the Contemporary, again, as Van said, I mean, if you can afford it and if you don't mind the noise that some people complain about if they're in the tower, then go for it, I guess.
Yeah, I think all three of us agree, though, that either Beach Club or Contemporary, and Yacht Club, obviously, would be a better option, either or, over Swan and Dolphin.
Yeah, I think if you're coming all that way, it's not that Swan and Dolphin is fine, but I think if you're coming all that way, Beach or Contemporary, or even Yacht Club, I think those are your top choices.
Yeah, right. You want that Disney experience.
Definitely.
This next email, Van, I think you're going to enjoy. This sounds like something that came out of one of your top 7 lists over here. It comes from Jim in Lexington, who writes, "Gentlemen, my family and I enjoyed a Christmas trip to the world last month. While there, my 21-year-old daughter Ellen and I realized that there's a small but noticeable population of Disney guests who are not being served by any of the guidebooks. To that end, we decided to write the complete Jerk's Guide to Walt Disney World. Chapters will include: move to the end of the aisle, are you serious? How elbowing your way into a theater entitles you to center, assuming others will climb over you. Another chapter: I paid for this seat, avoiding eye contact with a pregnant woman standing and holding a sleeping 2-year-old while you continue to sit on the bus. Tobacco Land. The best places other than smoking areas, of course, to sneak a smoke. Watch what they do for minimum wage. Throw your trash in the streets and watch how quickly cast members pick it up. Queue crashing, parade spot poaching, and more. Hope this can be an episode topic. Keep up the good work."
That's great. Yeah, to Jim, I think you said that's who it was. You need to listen to my podcast because it's so up your alley. I hate to pimp it out another one, but seriously, stop by. That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, there's some good topics over there. Don't
I
forget
read that book.
Yeah, don't forget also the chapter on ramming the person in front of you with your stroller like it's a snowplow.
Very good chap.
Next email's from Rachel from Dania Beach, Florida, who writes, "First, I want to say it was great meeting you guys at MouseFest, and I hope to see you again. So my cheerleading squad and I are trying to plan a trip to the wonderful world of Disney for our end-of-the-season party. We're on a pretty tight budget, and would like to keep the prices down to a minimum. What hotel would you suggest to stay on for only about 2 nights? And as far as food, what should we do?" Well, if you're staying, they're cheerleaders. I'm pretty sure that if we're talking about high school, obviously they're not going to be able to rent a car, so staying off property is not going to be a viable option necessarily.
It's obvious, Matt.
All-Star? Or, excuse me.
All-Star? No. It's obviously it's going to be a value resort. It could be All-Star, or it could be Pop Century. You could put as many as, I don't know if I'd put 4 teenage girls in a room, but I guess you could. There's only one bathroom. Am I going to get letters? As far as meals, you can get some very quality quick service counter meals if you know exactly where to go, and you won't be paying a lot. So I would say check the menus on All Ears Net for the quick service counter service meals and see what you like, and make a list and follow that when you get down there. And again, the value resorts would be the obvious choice.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that. Obviously, if money's the issue and you want to squeeze them in, I've seen people go into, certainly 4 people in a room at a value resort like All-Star, and it works. You're there only for 2 nights. It's not like you have to live with them for the rest of your life like that. So, and if you're looking for dining options, certainly if money is an issue, you're going to want to try to, maybe if you're only coming for 2 nights, you can, bring with you some snacks or something like that for the room. Maybe that's where you'll have your breakfast, like bring some granola bars or something that doesn't require refrigeration in the morning. And, maybe share some meals. I know a lot of the meals, especially if you're going to a sit-down place, they can be quite large. And I know that especially cheerleading girls, they want to watch their girlish figure, just like you, Van. And they're going to want to make sure that, you guys can share dishes. That might be another good option for you.
One more thing to mention, Matt, and that is that anyone who goes down there should keep in mind that the dinner entrees are going to be approximately 15% more expensive than the same entree that you would have at lunch for most of the sit-down restaurants. So eating as early as you can for dinner is highly recommended.
Good. Next email is from Patrick and Lydia, who write, "Matt, Mike, Len, and Dr. Scopa, Mongello. It was great to meet you all at MouseFest 2007. We had a great time at all the meets. All the trivia and social interaction made the trip even more enjoyable for my 7-month pregnant wife, who usually attacks the attractions with Testa-like intensity. Now that the firstborn is in the Disney College program, maybe you'll be able to take your time and answer our question. Our 6 trips to the world in 2007 only included 1 on Disney transportation, largely because of your recommendations to rent a car. Most days, we would drive to the park 60 to 90 minutes before opening, as the guide tells us. Ding! Because of that, we got to the park in the first couple of rows. On our early trips, there were several times when we thought, who needs to wait for the tram? It doesn't look like it's that far to walk. Nearly every time we got passed by a tram full of smiling guests who had parked next to us. So we came up with this axiom. Unless you're in the first 2 parking lots at Epcot, it's always faster to take the tram. The question for the four of you is, does this hold true? Are there any other exceptions? Have guide researchers spent all day on parking trams? I can't think of anything more exciting. Thanks for the phenomenal podcast.
Well, there are certain shortcuts that you can take in the parking lots, which enable you to get to the turnstiles much quicker than the trams. But that holds only for probably MGM, the studios, and Epcot. Obviously, you need to taking the tram at the TTC is probably the best way to get to to the ferry or to the monorail.
Yeah, it's not much of an option there.
I think if you get it to Magic Kingdom and you're towards the front of the lot and you go pretty much the opposite direction of where everybody loads to get on the tram, you can kind of snake your way back in, and it might be kind of a dead match with the tram, but that's a little bit of a shortcut there if you're in that one.
Right. I'm trying in Epcot. I think if you park in that first lot, I think it's Journey, rows like 1 through 10. Over there, it's kind of a wash because it's so close to the park. You may as well you can walk it. I would do this if the tram isn't there, like it left already, or it's somewhere else not waiting for you. You might consider walking. The thing with the tram, though, is have you guys ever found that it's a gamble a lot of times? Sometimes I'll get on the tram, and I swear the tram driver is waiting, for anyone and everyone in the whole, parking lot to get on the tram. Like, they'll take, literally, obviously not an hour, but it feels like a long time. And there's some guys who just, they pull up and, it's like they never stop moving. It's just get on and let's go. And that's always the thing with me. I just, I hate to sit on the tram and be like, I could have walked there by now.
I can tell you that most of the time, I usually beat the tram. If the tram's not there, I just put my head down and I just walk to the park, or I walk from the park to my car, because sometimes the trams just take forever to get there.
Yeah. At the studios, if I park in stage parking lot, I walk it. If I park in music or film, I'll take the tram, and simply I could walk it. But there's also something to be said about saving your legs, especially early in the day. You don't want to burn yourself out by 10 o'clock in the morning, after walking, a quarter of a mile or whatever the distance is from the parking lots.
Yep.
Next email's from Frank, who writes, "Hi, Matt, Mike, and Len. You guys are nice enough to have me on back on episode 210. After the taping that you guys kept talking about how clear how much you liked each other. Len was talking about some of his ideas for using technology when you're planning a trip and then actually being in the parks. I would love to hear you guys talk more about this in the future. Here's some questions that I made up for a particular show, and we'll answer some of these over here. How much do each of you use the internet for planning before you leave for Orlando?"
The what now?
The internets.
The internets. The interweb.
The interweb, that's right. The Google.
The Google.
Al's place. Yeah, Al's place.
In short, I think I can speak for everyone and say quite a bit. What do you guys, quickly, what do you guys use for the internet in terms of just, sheer planning? I know that I use, when I make my dining reservations, I go to All Ears Net, look up the dining menu so I can see what I'm interested in, or it also gives me a nice list of all the dining venues all over the resort, and then I can take a look at.
That's a big one for me too. I'm always checking that for what's changed too, so you can try to throw in a few restaurants that you haven't checked out in the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
I guess I could say that, although I don't find myself using the internet for that. I basically use it to book my airfare, and that's about it.
Really? So you're you go over there and you're your own man. You just say, I got it all under control.
That's a good way of putting it, Matt. I'm my own man. Yep.
All right. Another man with some large grapefruits here wants to go one-on-one with the parks. No.
So many people that are not getting that reference right now.
There's so many people who are just like, what is he saying?
Grapefruits, what?
What information services, gadgets, mobile devices, etc. do you use when you're on vacation at Disney World? Is it all planned out ahead of time, or do you pick and choose in the moment?
I've tried to use my cell phone for, texting in a joke at the Monster Laugh Floor thing, and it just doesn't work. So I'm just going to save myself some money from now on.
Yeah, those jokes over there, unless you got knock-knock jokes. First of all, any good joke, a lot of them, they're too long to write. And I've sent in some good ones I thought were clean. And the jokes they always pick, I guess my joke wasn't clean enough, because the jokes they always pick seem like, how do you spell I-cup kind of jokes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So think about it if you don't get the joke. What do you guys, Scopa, do you use anything?
Well, I use my cell phone to while I'm in the park to make an ADR. If I'm looking to make a reservation, I'll either go up to a podium, or rather than fight the crowd to go up to a podium at one of the restaurants, I'll just call Disney Dining on my cell phone to make a reservation, and that works most of the time. That's about as far as I go.
Yeah, the cell phone's really useful. And a lot of times, you'll have that spur of the moment thing where it's say, hey, let's, I feel like eating wherever today. Let's see if there's any availability. Although, certainly you try to plan it out ahead of time, but a lot of times, you may have a sudden desire to go eat somewhere. And of course, we should mention, and I use it all the time, is touringplans.com for planning out what days I'm going to what parks. Next email is from Chuck. Always reminds me of Beetlejuice. Come for your daughter, Chuck. Thanks for answering my dining questions on your most recent show. Unfortunately, my wife, my 9-year-old daughter, and my 12-year-old son had to put off the mentioned April Port Orleans French Quarter trip, but we are on for a stay at Scopa Towers August 4th through 8th. We have stayed at All Star Sports, All Star Music, and Caribbean Beach in the past. This is the first trip to Pop Century. This is also our first summer hot weather trip. After an early morning and lunch in the parks, we plan on heading back to the room for naps and pool time, and heading back to the parks later in the evening when it's cooled down some, we hope. Any Scopa Towers advice you guys can give, especially the old resort namesake, would be helpful and very appreciated. Thanks in advance. Love the podcast.
It's a great strategy. I mean, I've done the summertime bit there when it's really, really hot, and that is the key. Hit the parks early, go back, relax, cool off, go back in the evening. That's brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's the smartest thing you can do. Any tips, Scopa, at Pop Century in terms of, I don't know, anything that might be useful for on-resort tips?
On-resort tips. Tough to say. There's a lot that I probably take for granted that, I think that one of the things I would, oh man, this is really tough. You mean specifically with Pop Century?
Yeah, because I guess they're looking for, it sounds to me like they're looking for advice like once you're at Pop Century. Because for me, when I take the afternoon break, I don't know about you guys, I go back, usually what I do is I'll take a nap first, and then I'll go to the pool. I may alternate that, but really it's one of the two, and then I'll head back to the parks. I don't do too much resort stuff, but then again, I usually stay, again, at an All-Star or something like that, so I don't take terrible advantage of the resorts.
Well, one of the things I think I'd start off with is because the parking is not the greatest at Pop Century, and if someone is intending on renting a car, my recommendation is that you request a room in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, because if you do so, when you come back at night, it will be less of a walk than if you stayed at the 60s or the 50s, because you'll be parking far away from your building. So that would be number one. Number two, the food court there is very, very busy after 8 a.m. So if you are not an early riser and you're trying to go and have a quick breakfast, forget it. You're better off going to a theme park and trying to grab a bite to eat at the theme park, or have something in your room. So that's very important to know. I mean, it just explodes in the morning. That's something to keep in mind. It's about the only two that I can think of right now, Matt.
Okay, great. Speaking of August trips, next email is from Chip Joyce, who writes, "Hey guys, we're looking forward to our next trip, which will be a 10-day trip in August 2008. I've only been to the parks in the off-season, February, September, and October, and August starts the value season, but the fact is it's still summer, and it makes me nervous because of the large crowd sizes. What are the attendance levels like in August, and what are your opinions of going in August?"
Carol and I like to go in August. It's her birthday. Matt, we were there in August last year.
Yep.
I think that one thing that people should keep in mind is that the value season begins right around August 17th, and the crowds do tend to drop off towards the last half of August, and that's because most of the families are gone, because you're looking at football starts, the football practices start in August, the soccer practices start in August, and so there'll be quite a drop-off in the family crowds in August. So I wouldn't worry as long as it's the second half of August.
The only thing about when I went in August last year, as Mike mentioned, is that it's still ungodly hot over there and humid, really, more than anything. And we went really mid-August, right when value season really started, and crowd levels, I don't remember it being terrible. I've certainly been in worse, but I don't think that it's really just, I think the heat is going to be your biggest enemy, humidity, that just terrible, Florida humidity. Van, do you go in, have you gone in August in the past?
I have. I prefer not to, just because I'm kind of a wuss with the heat. The Minnesota thing coming back all over again here. But
that's right.
I really think that back to kind of the last email too. The strategy of getting there early and maybe getting out of there and cooling off a little bit. That's a big deal. I'd also say bring along bottles of water. Get some stuff up. Freeze it if you can, if you've got that option, and let it kind of cool off during the day. It'll stay cold for a long time. But kind of the basics.
Absolutely.
So Van, would you agree with me that anyone who just couldn't handle the heat would be kind of, shall we say, stupid to move down there?
That's a shot at me right there. Whatever. I think it's perfectly feasible to stay indoors from May to September. I mean, really, there's no reason to leave the house. Next email is from Kim from Mount Laurel, New Jersey, who writes, just listen to your fireworks and light show info and thought I'd give you some really great advice. Beyond the beach at the Polynesian, or rather, thank you for your really great advice. Beyond the beach at the Polynesian and at California Grill, are there any other places around the lake that the Magic Kingdom fireworks can be seen as well? I'm not asking for 100% unobstructed view and sound, but are there any other spots where some of the fireworks can be fairly seen? So other than the Polynesian and the California Grill. Could you also see it from Narcoossee's?
I believe I was going to say that, right around Narcoossee's, right near where Narcoossee's is and where the wedding chapel is, probably around there you could see it real well. California Grill was mentioned. I'm trying to think where else.
I would say the boat docks, maybe by Poly and Grand Floridian.
Yeah. Could you see them from Fort Wilderness?
I think you're blocked. I think you're blocked a little bit from what I'm talking. Where the boats come in down near Trails End, Matt. I think you're blocked off a little bit. I have never watched it from there, but I have a feeling that you're going to be blocked off a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think it's perfect.
My wife and I got married down at the wedding pavilion down there, and we timed it so that it was. Yeah, I know. Hi, honey, I love you. No. So we timed it so that Wishes was on in the background, and the view there is really spectacular. So if you can get anywhere near there and not be obstructing somebody's wedding photography, then I would say that's a good one too.
Great. Time for one last email here. It's going to be from Wayne and Donna from Walnut, Mississippi, who says we only have one red light in our town. So I guess that's one more than you got there, Van, right, in Igloo Land?
As long as it's not over your front door, you're okay.
We have 2 green lights now, though. That's the big thing.
2 green lights, that's right. Hey, guys, quick question. We're coming in September and staying at Caribbean Beach and thinking about renting a car. Can you tell me where to get some codes to help reduce the price? We have that official guide and thinking of renting from L&M. Do they deliver to the resort?
Oh, I don't believe they deliver to the resort.
I thought Enterprise was the one that did that.
Enterprise does that. Codes can be found at mousesavers.com, and there was a site called rentalcarcodes.com, but I'm not too sure if that's still being used.
Yeah, the only other site, Mousesavers, I always go to first because it's got such a great resource for car rental codes. The other one I also use is if you go to retailmenot.com and you just type in like avis.com, it's just a coupon listing for any website. But if you type in like an avis.com or a budget.com or whatever, it will spit out codes for you, and some of those have also been useful to me in the past. Van, do you rent a car or do you hoof it?
I always rent.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I sign up for all the email alerts, from a bunch of them, and kind of keep an eye on those. And then, like you said, Mousesavers, a great resource there. Yeah. Yeah,
I've also found, it's a good point that you bring up, Van, is that a lot of the times there are very good deals on the rental car company's website. If you go to their specials page or something along those lines, they often list, certain things that are going on, and you can definitely use that as a great resource as well.
Well, the best thing about that is that a lot of those places will let you make the reservations and then kind of hang out for a better offer. And if you find one, you make another one and cancel the first one, and it's no big deal. So it's nice to be able to kind of play the system a little bit like that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'll between when I actually make my first rental car reservation and when I actually get to, picking up the car, I've at least made half a dozen, changes to it, new reservations, old reservations. So, I definitely do that quite a bit.
Boy, this question brings back an email you asked earlier, Matt, regarding how we use the internet. I guess I use the internet to secure my rental car as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good one to add on there. Back to that question. Great. Well, that's it for us today. Van, thanks for coming by. And, of course, Van runs the Netcot podcast. You can find it at netcot.com. Thanks so much, Van.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. And if you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send your comments, visit the Walt Disney World Today website at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, and Van, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.
This episode of Walt Disney World Today is sponsored by MEI and MouseFan Travel. MEI and MouseFan Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner, specializing in cruises and packages to Disney and other vacation destinations around the world. They provide signature service with no agency fees. Get a no-obligation quote at www.mousefantravel.com.